And there is this scene in Matrix that really gets me, you know. It's this scene where Morpheus is teaching Neo about the Matrix, and he asks the following question: how do we define real? If real is what we can feel, what we can see, what we can touch, then reality would be a mere result of electrical stimulation in the brain. That is, only electric signals interpreted by the brain. And when we see in quantum physics that the observer has a direct impact on the results of the experiment, that is, when the observer is brought to the experiment, it changes. So we see a change in behavior when there is an observer. Let's see if you follow my line of thought here, because there is something to think about. Because when we see that the experience is based on the body's reaction to the external stimuli, we see two aspects here. We see the doer that is performing the deed, that would be the personality, the embodiment of the brain, for example, the manifestation of the brain, the person itself. And we have two levels on this equation. We have the conscious level and the unconscious level. And the interesting thing about those two levels is that science shows us today, both in neuroscience and in astronomy, that we have an enormous part of the equation that is unknown. That is, for example, in the neurologic sense, our experience happens mostly at an unconscious level. And in astronomy, we see that the known universe is only, for example, approximately 5-7%. The rest is something that we don't understand. We gave a name to it, that is energy, dark energy and dark matter, but we are not sure what it is so far. Science is working on it, but it's still a mystery, you know, for us. And this the similarity between the astronomical world and the neurological world really gets me, because probably in between these two things there is something bigger, stronger, and beyond our understanding. I myself, I'm an empiric guy. That is, I believe that to understand something truly, to be human, for example, the only true way would be through experience. That is, only experience could give the objective learning of something or a phenomenon or whatever. Because I see that the experience itself holds all the levels, the conscious level and the unconscious level. But where is the observer in this equation? And it brings me to the mind. The mind can be seen as the observer because the mind is what allows, for example, the body to move, to focus the attention, to do whatever we want to do as beings. The mind is the vehicle. We have this wrong concept, by the way, that the body would be the carrier of the action. But no, before we have thought and then we have action. And that is something to think about, because the mind is really what we should be understanding. Because, for example, how can we work on our minds to improve it? That is, we can work on both unconscious and conscious level. But the thing is that the mind can be controlled, but at the same time it cannot, because life is taught. We are in a constant process of thinking 24/7, sleeping or awake. But at some moments we can focus, we can think in what we want, we can do what we want, but we have to establish control, we have to establish awareness. And that awareness can only happen truly if we become the observer. We have to let go of extreme attachments. For example, attachment to ideas or to objectives, to goals. You know what I mean? It's interesting. I'm just thinking here. Just thinking here, you know, and I invite you to think about that. How can we become an observer? And that is, in my experience, what happens that one of the best exercise would be dhyana, or sitting meditation, as we can understand it. To sit in silence and just allow the mind to flow by itself. And that is, in some measure, we can experience that each and every one of us just by doing that. That would be a type of non-action. To be immobile and at the same time being. Allowing the mind to be free, to flow freely. Because when we see the universe around us, it's just a flow. And so happens to the beings inside this universe. We are just part of that flow. And sometimes we just need to let it go and let it be. It's hard, okay, but there is a secret that is not a secret. After all, everything is mandala.